Truth be told, I had kind of a hard time coming up with a topic for this one. I think it's mainly just because I'm going off of an unknown number of hours of sleep. I effectively stopped trying to sleep when my alarm went off at 10. So I don't really know if I actually slept at all. I just kind of felt like when my alarm went off and I was sort of looking at it in disbelief, thinking, did I just wake up to this, or I don't know if I was just awake already and had just sort of hearing it coming in from out of nowhere. But yeah, so I don't know how much sleep I've gotten. I went to go get my check today, and I was just informed that I'm working today. So glad that we're all keeping each other informed here. So I'm going to work in a couple hours. No problem there. I mean, it means more time for me. So I'm gonna go eat in 3 days this week instead of 2. Woohoo! Um. No, I figured, I don't know, I could probably elaborate more on this one, or maybe I should wait till I'm more specific as to what I want to say. But I figure it's probably more natural if I can just talk it out after it being said. But the topic for this one I wanted to be like sexuality and how I view certain things of it. Now, I'm not sure where to start, but the thing is, like, it's funny. I remember back when I was a kid, like, I don't know. I grew up in a trailer park. I grew up probably from, well, since I could remember till about 8 or 9. I was in a trailer park, and then went to an apartment, whatever. But anyways, we were like, we had this little gang of kids, like our little group of kids that we all had in the trailer park. We all had our own thoughts and ideas of things going on, and I remember back and then the word sex was really funny because we treated it like it was a swear word. Like, we heard the word sex and we did the like the thing. It was really funny. And I remember one of our misconceptions about sexuality, in particular anatomy. This is really funny. And this is why they have sex ed. We had the idea that everyone was born with a penis, and girls just had theirs cut off at birth. That was what our impression was. What that was based off of was the fact that all we knew about girls, as the boys were concerned, was that girls didn't have them. That's all we knew. And we're like, oh, well, we're probably all born with them, but girls have theirs cut off. And our ignorance was further enforced by the fact that there was this one girl on our road who actually confirmed. She's like, oh yeah, I remember when mine was cut off. It hurt. I look back at that and I'm like, what? I don't know. But that was like my earliest perceptions of sexuality or whatever. Now, I guess I'll start with this. Me, personally, this is kind of like a little side story by itself. Let's see, it started sometime after my most recent breakup. I made a lot of like internal like moves where I was trying to think like about myself and like what kind of person I am or whatever. I kind of turned in myself and sort of tried to see what I was. And at some point I just sort of felt like I wasn't interested in finding a girl anymore for whatever reason. Like, it just didn't hit me anymore. Like, it didn't hit me. And so I thought, like, this is kind of where my logic was screwed up. Like, first of all, I was already kind of off with my thinking, but this is where it was going, so just stay with me. So originally, by process of elimination, I thought, oh, well, I'm probably gay. If I don't like girls, then I must like guys. But the thing is, I didn't really like guys that way either. So I was like, and this took me a while. Like, for a while, I thought I was actually gay. At the end of the year, semester. And then eventually it just sort of dawned on me. It was like, I don't really like anyone like how I think I should. And when I say I think I should, I mean should in the way that anyone would, that had a definitive orientation would. So, probably 3 or 4 months ago, I kind of learned and accepted about myself that I'm asexual. And it might sound a bit strange to anyone who listens to this and has known me over the years. When it came to me liking girls, it was more like I was only being that way toward them based on my surroundings and what my environment had taught me about how boys should be. It told me that boys have to like girls, and etc. So I just sort of tried to build myself around that aspect of where I was in, my life. I was like, all right, well, let's try to figure out girls and whatever. And I think a majority of my relationships didn't really work out. I mean, for various reasons, I'm sure. But I think the core reason that I don't think anybody really knew, including myself until, like, now, the core reason a lot of them didn't work out is because I didn't actually feel for them the way a guy should feel for girls. I just sort of felt like, oh, well, this is how it should be. I didn't actually feel that. So, I mean, not to say that was like it for all of them, but I kind of feel like when I look back at a lot of them, that's probably what went wrong. And I was glad to see that at least the majority of them had decided to stay my friend afterward, because we never really ended on bad terms. I eventually just started, stopped talking to all of them just because we all went our separate ways and whatever. I still talk to JC, we're still good friends, and we're finally on some level ground from where we were before we started dating, which is really nice, because I was really afraid we wouldn't get that back. But, she going to a school 40-some minutes away, we don't talk much anyways. Now, with that out of the way, and not a whole lot of time left, like I say, I'm probably going to have to come back to this at some other time. About, like, heterosexuals and homosexuals. Even before I came to realize that I was asexual, I sort of felt like the whole idea of being one or the other was really just kind of like one of those conditional things. It was really dependent upon a lot of things that weren't inherent. Like, they weren't supposed to be because they are. It's more like they became the way they are because of something prior or whatever. Which makes a certain kind of sense. It's more like the nature versus nurture thing. I don't want to get into that. But that's what I kind of feel like that comes from. Now, I generally, I don't know, just because of how I see things and how I feel like I should behave and stuff around things. When I say things, I mean like just my environment. I usually despise, at least kind of inwardly, not outwardly in any way, the male gender, heterosexual males in particular, just because of I've seen all the terrible things that have come from heterosexual males and them acting out them being heterosexuals and stuff like that. So I've seen enough to know I'm quite fine not being thrown into that category. Although I'm sure a vast majority of people who know me would still consider me heterosexual. That's fine. It's not like it's detrimental that they know that I'm not. Homosexuals, I don't know. Both men and women, I kind of feel like they're, I mean, at least in the last 20 or something years, they're kind of going through a hard time with trying to integrate into society and everything. And I'm sure it'll come a time. A lot of people say that the time's already here where they're fine with things, but I think things could be better, I personally don't really care. I mean, they seem friendlier anyways. They seem a lot more agreeable, because it seems like people who are homosexual seem to have thought about themselves a lot more thoroughly than heterosexuals. And I am running out of time here. So I'll have to come back to this later. I actually wanted to get into some of the other wacky aspects of it, so I might have a part 2 to this later. But yeah, so I got work later, and I might be seeing some of my friends this weekend, so I'll talk to you later.